Hey guys, what is up? My name is Xteria, and this is the patch 14.23 meta comps. In this video, we're going to cover what is the strongest swords you can play in the current patch. So with that said, we're going to go into our number one comp, which is Black Rose. And these are the base units you can use because this comp is very flexible. There's like 4 or 5 different carries you can choose from. We'll start with the basic one first, which is LeBlanc carry. And her items consist of having a Spirit Soldier and whatever AP items you can put on her. The rest of the units you want to use besides the base Black Rose units would be Swain as a frontline, because you also get Sword and you also get Form Swapper with Elise, and he's also going to be your main tank, so you just put main tank items on him such as Steadfast Heart, Warmongs, and Declaw. The main ones you want to build mostly is Steadfast Heart and Declaw. Main reason why is because Steadfast Heart is good against AD, and Declaw, because we're kind of in the magic damage patch right now, Declaw is good for resistance against magic. And you always want to static Shiv on your board somehow, so just throw it on either like Morgana or Cassiopeia, it doesn't really matter. And then for the most part, you want to play full swords, so the best swords you can choose from would be with Nami, because you also get Emissary, and Nami's Emissary is actually really good because she gives you more mana every time your units hit. And you throw in Zyra because she's a sword and she does CC, and then you also throw in Zoe because she is also a sword with damage. Position this board, it would be like LeBlanc in one of the side of the corners, and you want Sai on the opposite side of LeBlanc, and then the rest of the units don't really matter where you position them. So this would be like an okay positioning, and that's about it for the LeBlanc style carry. For the Zoe style carry is if you cannot find LeBlanc, you just put the Spirit Soldier and then whatever AP items you have on her, and then say for example we cannot find LeBlanc, so we just take her out, and then essentially we just throw in a Nunu. And you always want to put Sion on the edge. The reason why is because you kind of want him to get hit so he can dash in and hit people. But yeah, you could just throw in Nunu because you also get Bruiser and you also get Visionary. So you could just take out one of the swords like Zyra, and then this is basically about it. So if you play the Zoe carry style, this would be basically it. And then when you hit level 9, then you just throw in LeBlanc and then take out the Nunu and throw it back one more sword. And then there you go, you back to the 6th sword as LeBlanc as a secondary carry instead of a primary carry. So it just depends on your circumstances. And to determine between which one you want to play is either when you roll down at 4-2, you hit a Zoe 2, you might as well play her as a carry. Or if you hit a LeBlanc fast enough, and then before you hit your Anomaly, which gives her the buffs, then you can play LeBlanc as the main carry, level 1. That's totally up to you. But I would prefer the Zoe level 2 carry over the LeBlanc 1 carry. And then if you want to play the Heimerdinger style, which is actually a lot stronger at the moment, is where you have Heimerdinger over the Zoe. So you have your main items on Heimerdinger, and you play with mostly Visionary. So Nunu is a Visionary unit, so you take one sword out. Essentially, we have 3 Visionary because of Morgana, and that means instead of Nami, we use a Malzahar. And this is basically it for this style of Heimerdinger carry. We have 4 Visionary and 5 Black Rose. But let's say, for example, we cannot hit an Elise. We can use Garen instead, and instead of Nunu, or you can keep Nunu, we can use Renata instead. So either or, each style is fine. As long you have 5 Black Rose or maybe 4, you're good to go. It's just whatever style you can do. And then by the time you hit level 9, then you find the Elise again. You can play frontline or backline, up to you. Both is good. But if you don't have any items on her, just play her as a frontline. And then LeBlanc, if you can find her level 9, is good too. So this style is pretty good, or the Nunu over the Renata is fine as well. It's just mix and match the units. It's to give you an idea that this comp is very flexible. And there is one more style that I've never seen anyone done yet, but it is doable, which is Cassiopeia carry, where you play her as a reroll. So basically her items is, instead of Spirit Soldier, is actually blue buff with a Nashers and a Jewel Gauntlet. As long as you have blue buff, that's all that matters, but the rest items kind of don't matter. But essentially, it's just her with all domination and Black Rose. So instead of having Heimerdinger in and Malzahar and Renata, you can keep the Garen. It would be to have a Mundo, a Silco, and a Mordekaiser over the Garen. I lied. You kind of need to take out the Garen to fit the comp. But yeah, essentially, this would be your board. So you have 4 Dominator, reroll Cassiopeia at 7 or 8, up to you. For the most part, you might be stuck with 2 Dominator until you can fit 4 in. So to look like for 2, it'll probably be like with Mundo instead of Silco and Mordekaiser. It'll probably look like this. And then because you need some extra like frontline, you can throw in Nunu or you can throw in Garen. It works too, either way. It's totally up to you. So like I said, just mix and match with what you can think is good. Black Rose is just super strong, super flexible. Next up we got is Scrap. This is probably like the strongest AD comp there is in the game. And the way to do this is you play full Scrap with 6 Scrap. and this is how the full board looks like. Our main carry is going to be Corki, and his best items will be Last Whisper IE, and then +1 item like either Giant Slayer, Death Blade, or even just put Sword on him, because the scrap will make it into a full item. So you could just build that on Corki, and then your main tank's going to be an Alawi with her main tank items such as Steadfast Heart, Warmogs, and Declaw. As long as you have Steadfast and Declaw, you're good to go. You can put +1 after that. And if you have AP items, you can throw an Echo, because he's technically your only AP unit on the board. And speaking of another AP unit, or you could throw it on Rumble instead, but Rumble is good with Merlocon or like red buff, and then full tank after that. Or you play him full AP to one shot, totally up to you. You throw in the Elise so you can fill up the synergies, because you get Form Swapper with GP, and you also get Bruiser with Trundle. And speaking of GP, all he needs is Space Children and then whatever items you can find on him. And you want to play GP in the back line while Elise in the front line. And that's basically about it for this comp. The reason why the powder is more important than the Zig is because you get Ambusher with Echo. And then most of the time, this is a level 9 board, and most of the time we're not going to be able to find a Rumble. So basically it would be 8 units here on the board. Just take out powder and throw in a +1 Sentinel is way more important to have than 5 or 6 scrap. If you don't have Sentinel in the board with scrap, the value of the comp is not good, because you gain armor and magic resist, and it works on the shield that you have on scrap. So it's defense on top of extra defense. So you need Sentinel no matter what while playing scrap. Until you can find the Rumble, then you have scrap with that, and you also get Sentinel, and then over time you just throw in the powder back again, then you can have 6 scrap. But it's important to play with 2 Sentinel no matter what. And then now we're going to be talking about one of the strongest AP units, which is Heimerdinger. I didn't mention him before for the Black Rose comp, but this is the full Visionary comp. Essentially, it's just throw in all Visionaries as you can. The splash traits would be Nunu with Bruiser, and Elise's Bruiser, and then Rel is a Sentinel and also a Visionary, and Alawi is also a Sentinel. So your main tank's gonna be Alawi, and because she's kind of like solo frontlining, you want Gargoyle Stoneplate with her instead of the Steadfast Heart and then Warmog's Declaw. And then for Heimerdinger, it would be Blue Buff, Gunblade to heal the board, and then whatever items you can find on him. For Malzahar, it would be Spear Sojourn, anti-heal item like Merlocon, or even Red Buff, and then whatever items you can find on him after. So this comp is actually pretty simple. It's just all Visionary with the Elise, Rel, and Alawi. If you cannot find the Malzahar, it's fine. You could just drop 2 of the Visionaries, and then you could just throw in more Sentinels just to have extra defense, like Lorice and even a Leona. And this is actually fine like this. If you have a really good Academy item, you could just take away the Elise, it's fine as well. And you could just throw in an Ezreal, so you can have Academy in. So yeah, you can mix and match with this a little bit. But essentially, it's just, you know, the full board, which is Nunu, Rel, Elise, with Malzahar is the end goal. And then for the level 9 unit you want to throw in, it could be Jace, because you also get an extra thing you can have here as an extra tank, and you also gain Force Swapper with Elise. If you don't have Gargoyle Stoneplate on your Alawi and you have like something, for example a Steadfast Heart, then you could just position everything in the front instead, and then you'll be fine this way. But if you have Gargoyle Stoneplate, then you position the way I showed earlier. But yeah, that's basically about it for this comp. It's just this positioning depending on the Alawi item. If not, then Alawi is the front line positioning by herself like this. This is the one I like to play the most, which is Twitch. Essentially, you have him as the main carry, and you put Last Whisper and Rageblade. Ginsu's Rageblade is the prio that you should build, and then either red buff or even Last Whisper, and then +1 sword item like IE, Deathblade, whatever. I've seen some people do double Ginsu's Rageblade and the Last Whisper looks pretty good on him, but I can't really determine which one's better because this is only like the first day of the set. And we have our main tank Mundo, which is basically Gargoyle Stoneplate is really good on him because usually these units die before you can have an actual tank, so Gargoyle Stoneplate is kind of the way to go on him. And then +1 Warmogs or Redemption, and you kind of have to have the Declaw because a lot of magic damage in the game. The rest of the units, it would be with Experiment, it would be Nunu, and since Nunu is a bruiser, Elise is also a bruiser, and Elise is also a force swapper, so you get GP. And then Scar is a very good unit. He's also a Fireflight with Zeri. Zeri's also a sniper with Twitch, and because Scar is also a watcher, you get Garen. And Garen's an emissary, so you get more tank in the front line. So this is like a lot of synergies with this comp. The big thing to note would be with Elise. The thing about her is if she doesn't have a Spear Sojourn or like AP items, then you just put her as a frontline unit as a tank, because if you don't have items on her as a backliner, it's just kind of useless. You need items on her to be a backline. If not, just put her in a frontline and you're fine. And then if you don't have Last Whisper on Twitch, you could throw Last Whisper on GP, and you can just throw whatever items on Twitch, it's fine. As long as you have Ginsu Rageblade on him, that's all you need. And positioning depending on the experiment. So I can't really show you how to position that. It just depends how the experiment hexes are. And then when you hit level 9, you can throw out units like Mordekaiser because you get Dominator with Mundo is fine. Or you can throw out Jace is fine, you also get this Crystal, so you get extra frontline. Even though you have 2-4 swap red, having a Jace level 2 is good, so it's fine. Because he doesn't need items to be like a strong unit. And then if you want to, you can also switch out your Zeri for a Caitlyn later, because Firelight is kind of whatever later in the game. But if you care about the Firelight, then keep the Zeri in over the Caitlyn. And another unit you could throw in would be Savika, because you also get Pit Fighter with GP and Savika. So it's actually really good, like 5 cost units you can throw out at level 9. Next up we got is Ambessa, and this comp isn't really too strong, but the main reason why it is because of Mordekaiser, since Mordekaiser is broken. Essentially is Ambessa with her carry items, which is Bloodthirster, Sterax, and even Edge of Night. If you can't build Edge of Night, Tines is okay as well. And then you have a secondary DPS, which would be Corki in the backline with Last Whisper to bring armor for Ambessa. Our main tank's gonna be Garen with, you know, the usual tank items like Steadfast, Declaw, +1 Warmongs. And to glue this whole board together would be Darius, because Darius also gives you Watcher with Garen, and you also get Conquer with Ambessa. And the other Conquer units is Mordekaiser and Swain. If you can't find Mordekaiser, you can use Reroll or something, like whatever other Conquer unit you can find. And then for Corki, if you can't find Corki, it's fine if you want to use TF, because you also get the synergy of Quick Striker for your Ambessa. It's not too important to have on her, but if you can't do Corki, then this is fine, just to have extra damage for your Ambessa. And then when you hit level 9, essentially you just throw out Jace, because you get Form Swap with Swain. Pretty simple. Next up we got is Chem-Baron, and it's like an oddly specific way to win. In order to play this comp, you have to lose streak until you're almost like 1 hit, because you need 500 stacks. In order to get stacks, you kind of have to lose streak a bit in order to get your maximum amount of stacks. The reason why is because you get this item where it basically makes you win the game. This item is so broken where you can literally beat almost every comp in the game. But if you don't have this item, essentially the whole board is just Silco as the main carry with Spirit Soldier, whatever AP items on him. And then if you can get this item, that's good. If not, whatever AP items. And you play with Rennie as the main tank. The rest is like all of the Chem-Barons. And you have Urgot, Mundo, and Nunu to fill up synergies because they're also Experiment. And on top of that, you get synergies like Dominator for Silco with Mundo. You also get Bruiser with Nunu for Rennie. And you also get Visionary with Renata. And then when you hit level 9, if you want to, you can throw in Savika. Or you could take out Smeech, because Smeech is kind of pointless at this point to have in the board. So you have Savika, and Savika gives you Pit Fighter with Urgot. And then say, for example, you get the Augment where you get Silco and Jinx to be strong together. Then you could just take out Singe, and then there you go. You have Silco, Jinx together, and you throw out Echo so you can get the Ambusher in. And that's basically about it. And here is most people's favorites, which is playing rerolls. And this reroll comp is actually really easy. I actually been gaining a lot of LP with it because it's stupid easy. Essentially is Tristana reroll. How you play this comp is you have Tristana as a main carry, you put Spirit Soldier, you could do Rage Blade, Last Whisper, IE on her. As long as she can keep casting and do high amounts of damage, you're good to go with her. And then the secondary carry is Urgot. You could do Thieves Gloves, or you could do Bloodthirster Sterax +1 is fine. Your main tank's either Vladimir or Vander. Vladimir is more preferable because later in the game, I'll explain why. But essentially his main tank items is Steadfast Heart, Declaw, and Warmongs, and then you play with all Watcher. And for the cap version, is basically 4 emissaries instead of just 1. When you hit level 8, you want to throw in, instead of a Mumu, you have Garen. And then you throw in Ambessa, and lastly, Nami. This is the reason why Vladimir main tank is better. He is heavily contested at the moment, but if you can get him level 3, it's good because he's a Sork with Nami, so he can heal even more. So essentially this is it on how to play Tristana reroll. There's really no gimmick to it. Besides, I guess you can make Ambessa as another carry. So you just put Bloodthirster or Thieves Gloves on her, and you're fine. And then another tank could be Garen, and you're good to go. And then for our last comp, I did talk about this a lot, but now we actually know what items to build, which is Kog'Maw reroll. Essentially, is Kog'Maw with his main items being Ginsu's Rage Blade, Archangel Staff, and Gunblade. The reason why this setup is really good is because you're able to stack attack speed, and you're also able to stack damage over time, which is really good on Kog'Maw because that's what he needs the most, which is both of those stats. And then Gunblade is just to heal the board. You could do double Ginsu's Rage Blade, but I would say Gunblade as your last item is good because it makes your board last longer. And then because he is a automata, having a Mumu is actually really good with that. And Mumu is also a Watcher, so you throw in units such as Scar, which you also 3-star with Kog'Maw, Garen, and Vander. And since Scar is a Firelight, having Echo as a Firelight is good with him on the side. AP items just throw it on Echo. And another unit that's also Firelight, that's also a sniper of Kog'Maw, is Zeri. And her best items having against is Rage Blade with whatever 80 items you can throw on her, like Last Whisper and Death Blade or Renance Hurricane or whatever. And you can also 3-star her too with Vander, it's also fine. But essentially it's just Kog'Maw 3-star and strong tank. Pretty simple, pretty easy to play. And these are the strongest comps you can play in patch 14.23. If you have any questions or if you don't understand something, just let me in the comment section down below. I'll try to answer to the best of my capabilities. If there's a B patch, I'll tell you guys also in the comment section as well. What that means is it's going to be a little different from the video, but I'll probably type it out in the comments saying what's different. Until then, I'll see you guys on the next one. Later.